friend Stephanie here, and she is going to show us some tricks about. Tell us about what we're going to do, Stephanie.
Well, one of the things that I look at when I go to any different state is I try to look up their local state gaming commission so that I have an idea of what their return to player and their paybacks are, so that I kind of have at least a general idea what I'm looking at and kind of tell me the places to go. So first we're going to go over here. We're going to type in Colorado Gaming Commission.
In any web browser.
Yes. And then we'll go to the first one here that is the gaming division. That's the
And
actual.
you can do this in any state, right?
Most states, yes. Obviously, this does not include tribal casinos
Okay.
because they're not regulated by any given state or federally. From here, we're going to go down to limited gaming. And we'll scroll down there. And when you get down here, it'll say information for public and consumers. Now, each state will look different, but you can kind of, figure out your way through based on the state. Now, Colorado is one that will only tell you the area and not the individual casino. Nevada does it that way too. So from here, you go to Gaming Division Financial Reports.
Okay, over here. Okay.
And if you scroll down here, it's updated on about the 20th of each month. And that will tell you for the month prior.
Okay.
So when you're like today it's January. This was updated in December for what actually happened in November. So it's not going to tell you what's going to happen when you go out to play, but it'll give you at least a background of what's typical, and you can see it for the year or for the month. You can see it for statewide or the 3 individual gaming towns that we have. Cripple Creek
This is where we are now.
is where we are now. They have, I think, 12 or 13 casinos. Central City's only got 5 or 6. Blackhawk's got like 18. So that will kind of give you an idea, but you can look at the overall statewide, or that will show you the individual towns. But if you look at just Cripple Creek, whether it's the PDF or the Excel spreadsheet.
So what should we do?
Let's do the PDF.
Okay.
So your hold percentage that you see at the bottom. So this is the total of the slots for July, August, September, on through. And then there's the total at the end, and that's for the year. So your hold percentage, you'll want to think of that as the opposite of a return to players. So this 7.26% for July would then mean it was 93% on the return to player, because this is what they're holding.
100%, you take off the 7.2.
Right.
Right.
So it's kind of the opposite. So obviously you'll see that the penny slots pay the worst, but we know that because that's why all the casinos have 1,000 penny slots, right?
Okay.
Because that's where they make their money. So as you go down.
So when we're looking here, this is everything.
This is slot total.
Okay. But when we come here, this is the pennies.
Then it's broken down for pennies.
And it's an 8.35.
In July, yep.
And then, but it's kind of pretty similar across.
Yep.
Right?
And then you'll see your nickel slots. And Cripple Creek doesn't have any dimes at all. So, but you'll see that in Central City and Blackhawk, because I know they have dimes. So quarters, you can kind of see.
Interesting.
Quarters has, in the most recent month, has paid out quite a bit better between these last 2 months. And you can see that there's 84, and they got rid of a couple quarter slots here, because then there's 80 that's
total slots.
Total machines in all of the different casinos here. As you go up, you'll see those numbers. Your 50-cent slots, it looks like here, paid out.
And there's only 9 of them?
Yeah, there's only 9 of them.
That's got to be all at Golden Nugget, because there's about 9 here.
Yeah, and so, but you see here, they were at 8.88%, and then all of a sudden dropped to 3. So that means those machines were balancing themselves and got themselves worked out. And so then they're back to what looks like a pretty typical on that 5.66.
Right, because it was in the 5s
but
here.
In the year total, it didn't really change much.
Yep.
So then same when you go to dollars, and they don't have any $2 slots up here. They will when you get to the other locations. The $5 slots you can
And
see
there aren't many of those.
there's not a lot, but then everything
So
else,
that's meaning a $5 slot is
a
going to be
$5 denom.
it's going to be one $5 denom.
Yes.
Not that you're playing $1 times the 5 lines.
Correct.
I just
That would be a
people-
dollar slot.
Yes, I just want people to understand
Yes.
that. So when we're talking, it's this the base denom is $5.
Correct.
And then you're going to have multiple credits on top of
Right.
that.
Absolutely.
So really, if you're playing a $5 slot, you're probably paying $10 or $15
That's
to
correct.
play that slot.
Well,
I
there's
just want to clarify that for our viewers.
absolutely. So when you get down lower than this, then you go into high denom slots. So that's where it lumps in the 10 to 25 hundreds, whatever it is,
Which aren't many of those.
which
at all.
there aren't many of those. There's a few down in town. I mean, because it looks like they've gotten rid of one since the last time I looked. This was something that I had looked at a couple months ago when I was up here. Those high denom slots, like that was the 6.94 was really high. And then all of a sudden, that's where it started paying out, as you can see. And that -40
right here.
right there, yeah, like that, it says that those machines paid. So you can see, the average dailies.
So that's going to be a $10 and up
Yes.
slot
Denomination.
So you're going to be playing $20 or $30 a hand.
Right.
And
Yeah,
okay.
because, yeah,
and I
it's-
want to. So let me ask this question. So when we're talking about this, is you've got some penny machines that you can also select a $1 and a $2 denom. So where's that going to be reflected?
That's going to fall here in the multi-denom
Okay.
slots.
Okay.
And you can see there's tons of those as far
Okay.
as the number of machines. You can see that there's tons of those because those will range anything from your normal triple stars machine that has a 1, 5, 10 denom that you can switch.
Right.
That's going to fall under a multi-denom.
Okay.
So whether it's a high limit multi-denom, whether it's a regular Dragon Link that's or Dollar Storm that's a multi-denom, that falls under this.
Okay.
So that gives you kind of an overview of how Cripple Creek, what they reported to the Colorado State Government Gaming Commission over the last, whatever period of time you choose to look at. In this case, it's July to November.
Right.
And you can look at the same information for Blackhawk and Central City. I know I always Google just Gaming Commission for whatever state I'm going to. If I'm going to Mississippi, if I'm going to go to Biloxi or Tunica, then I will Google Mississippi. It will break down by the region, and then we'll tell you actual casino names. Louisiana, same thing with New Orleans.
So if we take this information, because we're in Cripple Creek now,
Mhm.
so what would you play?
Well, because this was reported
And
December 22nd, which
For
means
November.
that it was for November. I don't know that I would use a whole lot of this now. Next week, after the 22nd of January, it will tell us what happened in December. But at least
but
can.
if you were looking at this back on the 22nd when it was
Okay.
reported, what would you look at? What would you
Well, I would stay away from those high denomination slots because those look like they just paid out pretty well
do? Okay.
over the last couple of months. And I know that they're going to average this 2.08 here. So it's going to average with that anyway. But because of that negative number there, it tells me it's really been paying out lately. And on one hand, you could say, hey, it's been paying out, you should play that. On the other hand, you're saying they're going to have to get that money back pretty, somewhere along the line. And it's going to balance itself because
It'll
you
be
can
so
see it
interesting to
balance
see how
itself.
this comes out on the 22nd.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to
overall-
balance itself.
But overall, if you look at the overall here,
Yeah.
they're still better, right?
Overall, higher denomination is always better than a lower denomination, but that goes for all casinos, all slot machines everywhere, right? That's why they fill a casino with penny slots because pennies are the ones they make the most money on.
So the next I would probably play the quarter machines.
Yeah, because that's
They need to balance out.
right. It looks like, it's ranging right about that 5%. And same with the 50-cent ones, because I know there's a few
There's
here
several,
at Golden
yeah.
Nugget. But if you pull the report that is the full year, that report will tell you what it should be. Like you'll get a good idea because you'll see.
So can we do that?
Sure.
So we want to look at the statewide now?
Yep.
Okay, so we looked at Cripple Creek before.
Mhm.
Now we're going to come in and look at statewide. And I'm going to zoom in so y'all can see well. So what does this tell us?
Okay, so it looks exactly the same, but this is over the average of the 3 different towns.
So this looks like the 50-cent slots is where you want to play. And,
Yeah.
And the $5.
Absolutely, yeah. But see
It paid out.
how it paid
Yeah.
real good there,
And then it came back up.
and then it came back up. So yeah.
That's a $2 slot.
Oh yeah, and we'll have those in Blackhawk when we go there. But then one of the other things, this one doesn't show it, but so your general overall in the high denomination slots is $5, $2. Like those are always going to be lower than your pennies or your nickels.
Of course, right. So we're really going to want to probably play 50 cent.
If you can find them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 50 cent.
Now remember, this is all 3 places
Yeah.
combined. So this
Okay.
is not individualized based on where you're going.
Okay, so we decided earlier that the 25 cent
Mm-hmm.
and the $5 is what we want to play here in Cripple Creek.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Right?
Yep. I think that's a good strategy, and we're going to go out and hit the town and see what we can
See
win.
what we can do. Okay. And then if we come back here
So,
and we look at,
and you'll want to look at this
let's
again.
look at Blackhawk.
There you go.
Okay. Okay, so this is Blackhawk, which is where we're going tomorrow. So I'm really
That's right.
interested to see
And I'm going to come
overall.
up and see you in Blackhawk as well.
So you're really
and
interested to see where we're
I'm going to take you into Central City
Yeah.
because that's a little bit of a mix between Blackhawk and Cripple Creek. And so, but it's kind of a cool little old mining
Yeah.
town as well. There's just not much there.
Okay, so looking at Blackhawk,
Yes.
let me see if I can do this.
Okay, you do it.
Let me see. Let me just look through. So what I'm looking at is the totals first,
Mhm.
and I'm looking at this bottom number in each line, right?
That's correct.
So without looking at the denoms, I'm just going to go through. So I see 5.96, I see a 6.42, and then I see a 3.71, which is probably the best so far. I'm not even going to look at tables. Okay, so if I come back here and I look at this 3.71, it's a $2 slot. But like you said, and that's interesting because this is Blackhawk, it's very similar to the overall state, right?
Yes.
Because all the $2 slots are in Blackhawk.
Right,
So
exactly.
that's why it's the same.
Right, because there are 0 in Cripple Creek we just saw, but it's also because Blackhawk has a higher majority of the casinos in the state of Colorado.
Right.
Because they have 18 or so
Right.
there, whereas you only have like 10 here in Cripple Creek and maybe, 3 or 4, 5 maybe in Central City.
Right.
So
But
that's the other
we
reason is
really
they
would
weight the
wanna
averages.
Probably play this because it's paid out and now it's coming
But
back
that's-
up, right?
Yes. So this is July, August, September, October, November. So yeah, it paid out, but that was September. It's January.
Right. So maybe
so you don't know.
Yeah, you don't know.
And I mean, none of this is going to say, hey, go play this because we don't know. It's still a slot machine.
Yeah,
still
but it's
gambling.
interesting to look at.
It's interesting
so
to know
For me,
the actual numbers instead of depending on an RTP that is 95%.
RTP is a return to player for
Yeah.
those of you that don't know.
But if you look at those and you look at those low volatility machines, that's an RTP over millions of spins, over millions of dollars, the life of that machine. That machine may be 25, 30 years old. It's not going to affect your individual session.
Right.
But this at least tells you, brings it down from those millions and millions for years and years down to a 1 month screenshot, a capture of what has happened. As opposed to, we still don't know what's gonna happen.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do in Blackhawk, and we'll see if the strategy works out. But looking at this, and I hope, Mike, you're taking notes on this. I know we got to write it down because I'll forget. So 5-cent slots I would play because they're at 5.96, and I don't see that they've averaged themselves out really.
Yeah.
So maybe we could catch it when it is.
Sure.
And then I would probably do the 50-cent slots because the same thing. It hasn't really been averaged out. Maybe we'll hit it when it's paying out.
Sure.
On the dollar slots. I would definitely probably maybe try some $2 slots, although that makes me a little nervous because it has paid out, right?
Well, but
It
you'll
came
see
back
that it
up.
paid out in October, but it went way the other direction in November. So we don't know what happened in
In December
December,
or
and now
Jan-
it's
yeah.
January. So January might be a good time for a $2 slot.
So we'll test out
And I'll
some
show you some of
$2
those.
slots.
You're staying at Horseshoe, so
We're
I know
staying at Horseshoe and we're staying at
Ameristar.
Ameristar.
Okay.
We're doing
Well,
both.
I know right where the $2 machines are in Horseshoe.
Okay, great.
I cannot picture any at any of the
And
other
we'll do
locations,
some,
but I'm sure we'll find it.
hopefully if we can, we'll do some videoing if we can pull that off.
Well, I know Jackpot Judo did some videoing in Horseshoe and Lady Luck, both were the Caesars
Yeah.
properties. I know I've seen other YouTube channels doing videos in
Yeah.
the Ameristar, which is the Penn Play property.
So we'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see on that. So, okay. So 5 cent, 50 cent, $2. That's, and then maybe some high denom if we win. But I'll probably stay away from that unless we win.
Well, I'll show you a little trick here. One thing that's real interesting to see, if you go back to this, the reports that you're on, but for Central City,
And then you go to the limited gaming, and then we're going to scroll on down, and we're going to go to this information for public consumers, and then we're going to scroll on down to over here at the bottom right is gaming division financial reports, and then we're going to come on down here, and we're going to look at these current physical year to date, and we're going to look at Central City by itself.
Yep. Because this is real interest. It's a very small little town. It doesn't have a whole lot in the way of casinos, which of course then means not much for machines either. But you'll see as you look down, you'll see there's one high denom slot. There's one in the whole town.
Yeah.
And I know exactly where that one is. It's at the Grand Z. It's a $100 Wheel of Fortune machine.
And
But-
look at how it's paid out. This is
Right.
really interesting.
I thought you would find that
Yeah.
really cool.
Wow, it
Paid
really
out real big, and then it sucked a whole lot of money in November.
Yeah,
But look at what your overall balance for the year
because
is.
it is huge right here.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So that was the thing that we had been talking about, that I knew it paid out the 29,000. And so I'm like, oh, well, and so I
So what
looked,
would you do? Would you go play it?
well, I mean,
Maybe
listen,
we gotta do some group pull on that.
yeah, I was gonna say I've never pulled $100, denom slot. I think maybe one time my husband and I did in Biloxi, but only for like 3 spins because we got scared and we left.
Yeah,
We
it's
chickened
scary.
out.
It is scary.
So yeah, I'm kind of a big old chicken, but I did go and find where it was, and I know what casino it's in. It's just, I find it kind of interesting to see.
So we'll have to go play that one high denom. That's really interesting.
I don't know. We'll go give it
love-
like 10 spins between us or something.
I love this because you could really see this high denom slot, just one machine, and you can just really break it down. And I think that's pretty interesting.
Right. Yeah. And I tend to go and look at what I can find for facts,
Yeah.
because that's better than listening to somebody say, well, I never do very well at this place, or I always do really well at that place. Well, that doesn't mean that's going to be your experience. And this doesn't either.
Yeah.
It just, these are the actual hard number facts that they have to submit to the Gaming Commission. So they all have to be 100% facts and not somebody's opinion about this, or somebody had
Right.
good luck that day or
And I
bad luck
love
that day.
statistics. And I love statistics.
This
So-
is
So
absolutely
this is cool. So in
right up
Central-
your alley
In
then.
Central City, I would probably, I mean, I don't love these statistics.
Right.
I mean, I don't really at all. If I was going to play there,
I mean, there's only like
I might
4
do
or
the
5
dollar
places, and they're all
slots.
little, like the Triple
Yeah.
Creek ones. They're just these little tiny
so
places.
I think we do the dollar slot,
Sure.
maybe some
And-
$5.
Yeah, because there you see where that was real low, and then it started to even out.
Mhm.
But if this is what your annual average is,
Right.
then that means it's got to come back down. Now, maybe it already did in January, and we just in December, and we don't know it yet. But it's kind of interesting
Yeah.
to look at, because I tend to do a lot of research when it comes to gambling, because just like anything, if I'm going to put my money in it, I tend to do some research and at least feel decent about putting my money into something. Then I get some entertainment out of it too.
Yeah, I think that's really, yeah. And then you can come back, go do this, and then come back and let's compare and let's see what's
Sure.
going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know, but and all of it's still just, it's still gambling looking at
Yeah.
this, right? It's all still gambling, and it's all still entertainment. I like to look at actual facts versus somebody's opinion, because everybody has a different experience in different places.
Right, right. So what's our plan for Central City? What are we gonna do?
Well, Central City, we're gonna go and check out, and I think that you will find it to be a cute little town.
Mm-hmm.
And we will pop into each one, and if a machine calls us, we'll play it. But we know to kind of listen a little more
Right.
when it comes to dollar machines. And maybe even a $5.
So you're gonna play that high dollar?
The $100, we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see
Where's
how
that?
we'll see how the rest of them go.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe if we're up a little bit, we'll take the gamble and see if we can't get a Wheel of Fortune spin, because it's Wheel of Fortune.
It's Wheel of Fortune. And that's my favorite game.
Is it really?
And fun fact, that's the first ever casino game I played. But I have to say that's why I think this is so interesting. And I hope that our viewers find this interesting because, you know, we can't win. We can't beat the system.
No.
Right? But we can learn how to improve our odds. And I think that's what Jackpot Judo was teaching us.
Yeah.
How to play those machines, which machines, how to go through the denoms. We're all learning that
Just
together.
at least be a little smarter about it.
Yeah, so we're
Yeah.
learning all that together. Then we're taking that, Mike and I, and trying to take his method and show it in real life because everybody's not quite as lucky as him. And
Right.
we're all learning. So you have that little piece of information. But then if you can go and if you're interested in do this research to see which denoms are paying out better,
Yeah.
and when those reports come and, you know, plan your trips around that.
And it's really
And
just
then-
an educated guess.
It is. And if
Just
if you're
making myself a
close-
little more educated.
Right. So what I've learned from this little session, and thank you so much, is that I would never, and we've been playing here for 3 days, and I never touched a 25 cent or a 50 cent machine, and I really should have been playing
Because
this.
of what your
Because
information
of what this
was.
information is.
Your prior information is play dollar and above.
That's right.
And so in this case, this is telling you,
In this
because there's a
town-
ton
in
of
this town.
in this town.
This is what I need to be playing.
I
So
can't wait to get out there and try.
I know.
All right,
Let's
let's go.